Tim Walz is, as we've determined in the program, 90% evil, 10% stupid. Now, I wonder if it's always been that way. I wonder if at some point Tim Walz was, say, probably 40% stupid, and then evil got in on him. There's no doubt that Tim Walz is evil if you simply observe the fruits of what Tim Walz has produced. Record high deaths of black men via murder in the state of Minnesota, twice the national average, which had skyrocketed, 83% up. Under Tim Walz's dictatorship of the state of Minnesota, it went up 45% during a similar period of time in other states. Of course, that was during and after the Barack Hussein Obama presidency, a man who did nothing to stop black-on-black crime. One of the presidents who was most uniquely positioned to do that. Tim Walz's Minnesota has become a place that is balkanized. There are cities that are now Muslim cities and counties that are now Muslim counties. And what that does to a nation that's trying to hold itself together, because there are those of us who'd like to hold the United States together, even though many of us are tempted to say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and just have the national divorce. It's already going on anyway. I mean, if we take ourselves as kids in a broken family, we can look and see the national divorce is happening. Fact is that people who have kids or want to have kids are leaving the cities and going to the suburbs. People who don't want kids are launching themselves into the cities. Tim Walz's Minnesota is also a place that has embraced violent riots. Well, the right kind of riots, not the wrong kind of riots. And, of course, it's embraced Islam. Well, those things can go part and parcel. Not all Muslims are violent people by any long shot. But when a nation imports people without investigating who they are or their points of view and without caring, or just in the case of the Afghanistan withdrawal, just sucks a bunch of people in immediately, not even bothering to take 5 seconds to look at who they are, when we do not encourage the becoming of a neighborhood, because that's what immigration is supposed to be, is that we all become a neighborhood. I don't want you to come to America thinking you have to give up your faith. That's un-American. I don't want you to come to America thinking you have to agree with all our policies. That's also un-American. What I do want is this, that you come here because you love our Constitution. You love it because it promises that you get to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. That you love it because it restrains government. That you love it because it encourages liberty, which is different from freedom. Freedom is the ability to do whatever you want to whomever you want. Liberty is freedom within constraints. That you love a system that is designed to be, in many ways, a meritocracy that culturally helps the downtrodden, culturally. The more often done through philanthropy, the better. What I do not want is people coming to the United States with the intention of installing a Muslim theocracy. That's what Sharia law does. You can pretend otherwise, but Islam is always followed by Sharia law. 83% of Muslims at one point, according to an international survey, thought you should be killed for leaving the faith. That's radical. I don't want people in the United States who think you should be killed for leaving the Islamic faith. I don't want people in the United States who believe that women should have to wear the burqa. That's un-American. If a family makes that decision, I guess there's little I can do, but I don't want to import people like that. I don't want to import people into America who want to see Israel wiped off the map and Jewish people killed. I don't want those ideas promoted under our college campuses. I don't want sleeper cells in our country of terrorists who are ready to be activated and become kinetic. And you know what I do want? More opportunities like I've had to have fascinating discussions with Islamic people. It's happened to me in New York City. It's happened to me in Washington, D.C., to sit and learn, to talk about, for instance, the difference in music from some of these cultures. It's utterly fascinating. Or to have a gentleman explain to me how he saw the beauty of the Quran. And I listened politely and tried to learn what I could. Of course, we need to be curious and interested in the people with whom we interact. We're called to love people. Part of loving people is being curious about people. Then there's Tim Walz. Tim Walz is 90% evil, 10% stupid. We've determined this on the program. But Tim Walz is everybody's favorite uncle. He's on the Kamala Harris campaign because he is chubby, white, gray-haired, and has red cheeks. That's why. He's also deeply radical and deeply dangerous. Just go look at the people with whom he hangs out. They're not people who mean this country well. They're, in fact, the form of enemies that my friend Tim Cruikshank fought against. Tim, as you know, is a retired Navy SEAL. He was deployed 3 times on our behalf. He was a medic attached to the SEAL teams. He was also a BUD/S instructor. I'm mentioning Tim because my friends at Native Path Krill did something phenomenal. And I want to thank him for this. Native Path Krill is what I've taken to stop taking ibuprofen. I used to eat 4 ibuprofen nearly every night. Often I'd eat it again in the morning. I thought I was fighting inflammation. Do you think that too? Ibuprofen actually causes inflammation. It actually destroys your gut lining, which leads to things getting into your bloodstream, particles that shouldn't be in your bloodstream getting into your bloodstream. That causes more inflammation, so you eat more ibuprofen. My friends at Native Path Krill heard Tim on our program. Tim came on to talk about, as much as he was able, the death of his dear wife, Liz. Tim talked about what it's like to be a team member, now supported as his wife died by guys with whom he was in war. He talked about his family, how his daughters stepped up. And if you saw the interview, it was very difficult. And at one point, I just had to say, stop. You don't need to talk about this. Tim wasn't ready. The people at Native Path Krill saw that, and they heard Tim say this. I was talking about Native Path Krill and how it fights inflammation, how it's 6,000 times more potent than vitamin C, and which can help, of course, fight off any form of illness in your body, can help your immune system. It's a potent antioxidant. It decreases inflammation. It actually allows me to exercise the next day. Even after a 12-hour workout, it allows me to do that. They heard Tim, who, again, was a physician's assistant in real life, say, I want that. He goes, that stuff I need. What's it called? I said, Native Path Krill. You know what they did? They sent him a year's supply to his house because they wanted to thank him for what he did for us. Visit nativepathkrill.com/Todd and go see what deals are waiting for you. This is a company who puts patriotism up front and whose products work. nativepathkrill.com/Todd. That's nativepathkrill.com/Todd. Here's Tim Walz, 90% evil, 10% stupid. This is video that's been unearthed exclusively by the DC Examiner. He's here with an imam named Assad Zaman, a master teacher who, by the way, is notorious for promoting the thoughts of Adolf Hitler. It's not President Trump having Mein Kampf next to the bed. It's actually promoting the thoughts of Hitler, as in he likes the thoughts of Hitler.
I would like to, first of all, say thank you to Imam. I am a teacher, so when I see a master teacher, I know it. And over the time we've spent together, one of the things I've had the privilege of is seeing the things in life through the eye of a master teacher.
A master teacher who likes the ideas of Adolf Hitler. Now, Tim Walz has said that he doesn't have any personal relationship with Zaman, except he knows he's a master teacher. How do you come upon that knowledge of a guy you don't have any personal relationship with? We already know that Tim Walz lies. He lies consistently about his rank that he achieved in the National Guard. There's a 3.5-minute video I could play for you of him lying about his rank. He lied about taking weapons of war into war because he never went to war. All military service is honorable, all of it. Doesn't matter if you go to war. It's all honorable so long as you serve honorably. But you don't lie about it. Tim Walz is Jay Inslee. Tim Walz is Gavin Newsom. They're all one person with all one goal, power, and they're willing to do anything to it, including cozying up to people who want to bring Sharia law into the country. It's not just Minnesota. It's many, many of the falling democracies or republics. There's a guy named David Spring, and he's been sentenced to 18 months in jail. And he said some horrible, horrible, rude things. This is from the British press, modernity.news. The sentence handed out to David Spring is the latest shocking example of how low the bar has now been set in terms of free speech. In response to rioting that occurred after the 3 girls in Southport last month, Spring attended a demonstration of around 700 people in London on July 31st, which turned disorderly. Police body cam footage that was played in court showed Spring calling police officers terrible words for using women's body parts, making hostile gestures, and joining in with chants, "Who the F is Allah?" and "You're not English anymore." So he's been sentenced to prison. Well, jail for 18 months. It's not just in Minnesota where we're seeing the very, very special people given very, very special privileges. I played for you earlier this week the celebration of the creation of the call to prayer, promoting the call to prayer from a government body. It is not that I'm calling on governments to stop people from practicing their faith. God forbid. You can't have a Christian theocracy. The minute you install a theocracy, it's not Christian anymore because Jesus Christ never forced a person to do anything. Eventually, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. That will happen. But prior to that, Jesus hasn't forced anyone to do anything. The same people who worry about the so-called Christian theocracy under President Trump are not worried that they're importing a large number of people who want to have a Muslim theocracy. That's what Sharia law brings. Tim Walz is 90% evil, 10% stupid, and he's on the ticket because he is chubby with red cheeks, white skin, and gray hair. It's the ultimate DEI recruit.